Welcome to Nexus Station, the galaxy's crown jewel of civilization, where the coffee tastes like recycled engine coolant and the locals think humans are basically walking apocalypses with opposable thumbs. Captain Jake Morrison straightened his jacket as he walked through the pristine corridors, trying to look like he belonged among all the fancy alien architecture. Behind him, his co-pilot Quilbert fluttered nervously, his bright blue feathers practically vibrating with anxiety. Quilbert was an aviarin, which meant he looked like someone had crossed a parrot with an accountant and given the result severe generalized anxiety disorder. Captain Morrison, Quilbert chirped in his high-pitched voice, perhaps we should have mentioned the human passenger in our initial docking request. The station's bioscanners seem rather agitated. Jake snorted. Relax, Quill. It's just one teenage girl. What's the worst that could happen? That's when Station Commander Vextar came scuttling down the corridor like a very official crab having a very bad day. His shell gleamed with authority badges, and his eye stalks were practically spinning with panic. Morrison. Vextar's voice boomed through his translator. You didn't declare a Class 9 Deathworld survivor on your manifest. A what now? Jake blinked. The human. The human from Terra's Australian continent. Vextar's claws clicked frantically. Do you have any idea what you've brought to my station? Before Jake could answer, a cheerful voice piped up behind them. G-Day everyone. This place is bloody fantastic. Luna Blackwood bounded into view, all 17 years of her radiating the kind of enthusiasm that made sensible aliens dive for cover. She had sun-bleached hair, a backpack covered in patches, and the sort of grin that suggested she found everything in the universe absolutely delightful. Oh wow, she continued, examining Commander Vextar with genuine interest. You're like a proper space crab. That's brilliant. Do you molt? Vextar's eye stalks retracted slightly. That's highly personal. Luna Blackwood, she said, extending a hand that Vextar eyed like it might explode. Nice to meet you. This is my first time off Earth. Well, second if you count the moon, but that was just a school trip. School trip, Quilbert repeated faintly. To the moon. More. Yeah, we wrestled lunar crocs in the low-grav domes. A bit different from the regular ones back home, but you get the hang of it. Commander Vextar made a sound like a tea kettle having an existential crisis. Right then, Commander Vextar said, his voice climbing several octaves, we need to discuss the situation. The upper 17 decks of this station are currently under strict quarantine due to a Shadowwing Raptor infestation. Jake raised an eyebrow. Shadowwing Raptors? Only the most lethal aerial predators in known space, Vextar explained, pulling up a holographic display that made Quilbert immediately faint and topple over with a soft thud. They're pack hunters with chameleonic wing membranes, meaning they're essentially invisible until they're ripping your face off with their acid-coated talons. Their saliva can dissolve titanium, they hunt in coordinated groups, and they have a particular fondness for sentient beings. The hologram showed grainy security footage of dark shapes flitting through the station's upper levels. Occasionally, you'd catch a glimpse of something with way too many teeth and a serious attitude problem. The Galactic Marine Corps rates them as a code black threat, Vextar continued. Even fully armored squads require psychological evaluation before engagement. We've called for a professional exterminator fleet, but they won't arrive for 6 standard cycles. Luna peered at the hologram with the sort of interest most people reserved for cute puppy videos. Oh, they're like the fruit bats back home. Look at those little wing membranes. Adorable. Adorable? Vextar's voice cracked. They've killed 3 maintenance drones and traumatized our entire engineering staff. Well, sure, but look at them, Luna said, pointing at a blurry shape on the screen. They're probably just scared and hungry. A new environment, all these strange smells and sounds. I bet they're missing home something fierce. Jake helped Quilbert back to his feet, the aviarin swaying like a feathered tree in a strong wind. Luna, those things are apex predators. They don't get scared, they make other things scared. Everything gets scared, Jake. Even the saltwater crocs back home just need a bit of understanding and maybe some snacks. Commander Vextar began updating his emergency protocols. The evacuation shuttles are standing by. We can have all non-essential personnel off the station within the hour. Evacuation? Luna looked genuinely confused. For some flying mammals? That seems a bit extreme. Flying mammals that can bite through reinforced steel, Vextar reminded her. So can bolt cutters, but we don't evacuate space stations because of those. The commander's eye stalks drooped in defeat. Clearly, reasoning with humans was like trying to explain quantum physics to a particularly stubborn rock. The point is, Vextar said with the patience of someone explaining something to a very dangerous child, these creatures are beyond any reasonable containment protocol. They're terrorizing the upper decks, and our security teams refuse to go within 50 meters of them. Luna nodded thoughtfully. Right then, I'll go have a chat with them. The silence that followed was the kind of profound quiet usually reserved for moments when someone suggests something so monumentally stupid that the universe itself needs a moment to process it. You'll what? Jake asked. Have a chat. Sort things out. Maybe see if they're up for making some friends. Absolutely not, Commander Vextar declared with all the authority his shell could muster. I will not have a Class 9 Deathworld survivor engaging in unsupervised contact with apex predators on my station. Luna was already digging through her backpack. Don't worry, Commander. I've got snacks. She produced a package of something labeled Tim Tams and what appeared to be dried fruit. Back home, I used to help Dad with the wildlife relocations. Most aggressive animals are just hangry or scared. Feed them something tasty and show them you're not a threat, and Bob's your uncle. Bob's your what now? Quilbert whispered. It means everything works out, Jake translated, then turned to Luna. But these aren't Earth animals. They're alien death machines. Jake, mate, everything's alien death machines until you get to know them properly. Remember when you first met Quilbert here? You thought Aviarans were all pompous and stuck up. I am pompous and stuck up, Quilbert protested weakly. See? But you're also lovely and make excellent tea. These Shadowwing things are probably just misunderstood. Commander Vextar was rapidly updating his insurance policies. Miss Blackwood, I cannot in good conscience allow you to. Allow me? Luna's eyebrows rose. Commander, I'm not asking for permission. I'm going to help those poor creatures, and you can either assist me or get in my way. But fair warning, I once convinced a cranky cassowary to help me fix my bike, so I'm pretty determined when I set my mind to something. She headed toward the lift that would take her to the quarantined sections, munching on a Tim Tam like she was heading to a picnic rather than certain death. Jake sighed and followed her. Right, well, if we're doing this, we're doing it together. Quilbert? What? The Aviaran looked like he was about to molt from stress. I suppose someone needs to document humanity's final act of cosmic stupidity for posterity. The lift ride to Deck 17 was the longest 30 seconds in galactic history. Luna hummed cheerfully while Jake checked his sidearm and Quilbert composed what sounded like his last will and testament in musical chirps. Now remember, Luna said as the doors opened onto a corridor that looked like it had been through a very polite hurricane, no sudden movements, no loud noises, and definitely no screaming. Animals can sense fear, and these ones are probably already on edge. The corridor was eerily quiet except for the occasional scratch of claws on metal and what sounded like very large things breathing in the ventilation system above them. Luna started making soft clicking sounds with her tongue. Here, lovelies. I've got treats. Jake was beginning to seriously question every life choice that had led him to this moment. Behind them, Quilbert was stress-molting, leaving a trail of blue feathers like the world's most anxious breadcrumb trail. Then something moved in the shadows ahead, and Jake saw his first Shadowwing Raptor. It was beautiful in the way that natural disasters are beautiful, impressive, terrifying, and absolutely not something you want to be close to. The creature was about the size of a small aircraft, with sleek dark scales and wing membranes that seemed to bend light around them. Its eyes were like polished obsidian, intelligent and completely alien. Luna stepped forward with the Tim Tam extended like a peace offering. "Hello there, gorgeous. Aren't you a beauty?" The Shadowwing tilted its head, probably trying to figure out what sort of prey walks directly up to apex predators while offering them cookies. What happened next would be discussed in xenobiology textbooks for generations, assuming any xenobiologists survived the heart attacks they'd have while reading about it. The Shadowwing Raptor, this apex predator that had sent an entire space station into panic mode, cautiously extended its massive head toward Luna's outstretched hand and gently took the Tim Tam with the delicacy of a butterfly landing on a flower. There was a moment of careful chewing, followed by what could only be described as the galaxy's most dangerous creature discovering it had a sweet tooth. "Oh, you like that, don't you?" Luna cooed, scratching behind what might have been the creature's ear if it had ears instead of razor-sharp crests. "What a good boy. Yes, you are. You're just a big softy, aren't you?" The Shadowwing made a sound that was part purr, part rumbling engine, and completely at odds with its fearsome reputation. Jake stood frozen, watching a teenager from Australia reduce the galaxy's most feared predator to what was essentially a very large, very dangerous cat. "I'm going to call you Fluffy," Luna announced, producing another Tim Tam. "Because look at those adorable little scales. They're practically fuzzy." Through the security feed, Commander Vextar was having what could generously be called a complete mental breakdown. His eye stalks were rotating like confused periscopes as he watched Luna give belly rubs to something that should have eaten her 3 minutes ago. More Shadowwings began emerging from the shadows, drawn by the sound of their alpha, apparently having the time of his life. Luna greeted each one like an old friend, distributing snacks and scratches with the casual expertise of someone who'd clearly done this before. "This one's definitely a Snuggles," she said, as a particularly large female nuzzled against her shoulder. "And you, handsome, you're obviously a precious." Jake found his voice. "Luna, I don't think naming apex predators after stuffed animals is going to make them less dangerous." "Course it will. Names are important, Jake. Makes them individuals instead of just scary monsters." Quilbert had given up on staying conscious and was sitting on the floor, watching the impossible scene unfold. "I'm documenting this for the Galactic Records Office," he chirped weakly. "No one will believe it otherwise." The pack of Shadowwings had formed a rough circle around Luna, who was now playing what appeared to be an impromptu game of fetch using pieces of broken maintenance equipment. The creature's invisible wings stirred the air as they bounded after the thrown objects like oversized, deadly puppies. "See?" Luna called out, as Fluffy brought back a twisted piece of corridor paneling. "They just needed someone to play with. Poor things were probably bored out of their minds up here with nothing to do." Commander Vextar's voice crackled through the comm system, equal parts amazed and horrified. "Miss Blackwood, are you teaching them tricks?" "Just the basics. Sit, stay, don't dissolve the maintenance crew with acid saliva. The usual stuff." One of the smaller Shadowwings had apparently decided Quilbert looked interesting and was investigating him with gentle sniffs. The Aviaran sat perfectly still, convinced that moving would remind the creature he was actually edible. "That's Nibbles," Luna explained. "She likes your feathers. Very pretty colors." "Thank you," Quilbert squeaked. Within 48 hours, news of Luna's achievement had spread across the galaxy faster than a quantum entanglement joke at a physics convention. Xenobiologists were having nervous breakdowns, military strategists were updating threat assessments, and the Galactic Tourism Board was already working on promotional materials featuring human-certified safe apex predators. Nexus Station had transformed from a place of terror into something resembling the galaxy's most unusual petting zoo. The Shadowwings now patrolled the upper decks not as predators, but as enthusiastic maintenance assistants who happened to be very good at catching actual pests like space rats and troublesome cargo drones. Luna had set up what she called Shadowwing Flight School in the station's main cargo bay, where she taught the creatures synchronized flying maneuvers and proper station etiquette. Watching a pack of apex predators perform aerial ballet while their human instructor called out encouragement was the sort of thing that made seasoned spacers question reality. Right then, Fluffy, lead them through the triple helix again, Luna called out, while a crowd of alien dignitaries watched from behind reinforced viewing barriers. Beautiful. Snuggles, mind your wing spacing. Precious, lovely form on that barrel roll. Commander Vextar stood beside Jake, both of them watching the impossible scene unfold. Morrison, I've been running space stations for 30 standard years, and I've never seen anything like this. Join the club, Jake replied. I've been hauling freight across half the galaxy, and Luna still surprises me daily. The station's efficiency ratings had actually improved since the Shadowwings became permanent residents. They'd eliminated the vermin problem that had plagued the lower decks for years. Their acute senses helped detect mechanical issues before they became critical failures. And their presence had turned Nexus Station into a mandatory stop for every xenobiologist and interspecies relations expert in the galaxy. Dr. Flibbert from the Galactic University of Impossible Things was frantically taking notes while Nibbles demonstrated how she could sort recycling by scent alone. This completely revolutionizes our understanding of apex predator psychology. Miss Blackwood, how did you know they were social creatures? They hunt in packs, Luna shrugged. Pack hunters are usually social. Basic animal behavior, really. But the academic consensus was that they were driven purely by predatory instinct. Yeah, well, academic consensus never spent quality time with a cranky wombat, did it? Quilbert had started a side business selling his memoirs to fascinated alien journalists. Chapter 12. The day I learned that terror and wonder are often the same thing, he was dictating to his recording device. The Shadowwings had also proven surprisingly helpful with the station's more troublesome visitors. A group of Xylorian pirates had attempted to board the station last week, only to be met by Fluffy and friends performing an aggressive friendship maneuver that involved lots of teeth and a firm but polite escort to the nearest airlock. The best part, Luna explained to a gathering of galactic security officials, is that they're natural mediators. Shadowwings can sense aggressive intent from kilometers away. They won't hurt anyone who doesn't mean harm, but they're very good at encouraging hostile individuals to reconsider their life choices. The officials were busily updating their security protocols to include request shadowing consultation as a standard procedure. Even the station's restaurant had adapted, with the head chef creating a special menu of Shadowwing-approved treats. They're very particular about their Tim Tams, Chef Grondak explained to a culinary reporter. But they also enjoy crystallized fruit and those little crackers shaped like shuttles. All good things must come to an end, even interspecies miracles performed by teenagers from Australia. Luna's transport was scheduled to depart for the Vega system, where apparently some cranky space krakens were causing trouble near the shipping lanes. The entire station turned out for her farewell celebration, which featured the Shadowwings performing their most elaborate aerial display yet. Fluffy led the pack through a complex routine that spelled out "Thank you, Luna" in perfectly coordinated flight patterns, while Snuggles and Precious added flourishes that would have made professional stunt pilots weep with envy. Commander Vextar presented Luna with an honorary medal for outstanding services to impossible interspecies relations, though he still looked like he wasn't entirely sure what had happened over the past week. Miss Blackwood, he said formally, in 30 years of station management, I've never encountered anything quite like your unique approach to problem solving. Thanks, Commander. It's been brilliant. The Shadowwings are lovely and you run a really nice station here. Jake loaded Luna's gear into the cargo ship while trying not to think about what cranky space krakens might entail. He'd learned that Luna's casual mentions of dangerous wildlife usually led to situations that would give a normal person nightmares for years. So, he said carefully, these space krakens you mentioned. Oh, they're probably just territorial. Most cephalopods are, really. I bet they're just upset about all the ship traffic disturbing their migration routes. Quilbert, now wearing a commemorative I Survived a Human t-shirt, was helping secure the cargo. Perhaps we should notify the Galactic Marine Corps amiss about our impending arrival? Nah, Luna waved dismissively. I've got some really good squid treats in my bag. Should be fine. The Shadowwings had gathered on the station's observation deck to see her off. Fluffy pressed his massive head against the viewport, and Luna placed her hand on the other side of the transparent aluminum, a gesture that somehow managed to be both heartwarming and completely terrifying. Take care of yourselves, you beautiful creatures, she called out. And remember what we practiced about not accidentally dissolving people. As their ship pulled away from Nexus Station, Jake could see the Shadowwings performing one final aerial salute, their invisible wings catching the light from the system's twin stars. You know, Quilbert said thoughtfully, I'm starting to think that humans aren't actually Deathworld survivors because they're particularly tough or aggressive. Oh? Jake raised an eyebrow. I think it's because you're all completely insane, and the universe doesn't quite know how to handle that level of cheerful chaos. Luna, who was now researching cephalopod communication patterns on her tablet, looked up with that same bright smile that had started this whole adventure. That's probably fair. Oh, Jake, did you know that space krakens are actually highly intelligent? This is going to be fantastic. Jake set course for the Vega system and tried to remember if his insurance covered acts of human. In the background, he could hear Luna humming happily while reading about creatures that could apparently crush starships like tin cans. Just another Tuesday in the life of a freight captain whose passenger list included one teenage girl from Australia and whatever impossibly dangerous situation she'd decide to befriend next. The galaxy, Jake reflected, was definitely getting weirder. But it was also getting a lot more interesting.